Welcome to Endurance Noise Live. I'm Andy Noise, and here's some endurance news for August 20th, 2020. It's super humid here in Bakersfield. We've got fires all over California, and the sun is bright red, and the skies are gray. Pretty humid morning. Going out and got my 60 minutes in. And then for some cross training, I cleaned out my backyard patio, and I put my bicycle back there, so hopefully I'll ride it more. Didn't really work here in the office space. But today it's definitely brutal. Speaking of brutal conditions, Marshall Ulrich posted on Instagram that on 8/24, so in a few days, he will start his Death Valley 30 for 30. 30 years ago, he did his first 146-mile crossing from bADWATER to top of Whitney, and 30 years later, he's hoping for his 30th crossing, and there's some tracking information. Harvey Lewis just recently broke the record, and the other day, it was supposedly like 130, 135 out there, so pretty dang brutal temperatures here in California. I don't know how it is in the rest of the world, but in California, pretty much all hell's breaking loose. We got COVID, extreme high temperatures, humidity, fire, smoke in the air. There's just craziness abounds. So we have a wildlife preserve here that people go hiking, and they've closed that because of the heat and the smoke in the air. So air quality is terrible. Some good news, Brent Murphy tweeted yesterday that the NCAA Division I Council votes to allow fall sport athletes to compete in any amount of competitions this year. It will not count as a year of eligibility. That's what sources close to the NCAA board say. So that's good because, who knows what's going to be going on. I know that the Oklahoma cross-country coach is planning on holding competitions if he can on their really great new multi-million-dollar cross-country course. In fact, it was interesting yesterday, the Hanson brothers tweeted out what would be your ideal course, because I guess they're going to build a dedicated cross-country course. We have something similar to here in California, up in Fresno, 2 hours away. We have Woodward Park, and I raced on it way back in 1981, and it was called the Kenny Prep Nationals, now Foot Locker, and that was my first time on Woodward Park, and it's a nice, beautiful 5K course. It's pretty spectator-friendly in terms of you can watch the start and then trot over and get to the mile really easily, stay at the mile, and then come to 2 mile, and then you can get back to the finish. So you can see your athletes start mile, 2 mile, and finish without too much effort, with only maybe having to walk a couple hundred yards in between. And it's got some rolling hills. I never ran it. Bakersfield's super flat. I got my ass kicked because I qualified for Valley back in 1981. They didn't have state back then. They started state in 1987. And unfortunately, our area meet was a couple weeks before the Valley meet, so by then I have to race a lot, so it was kind of brutal. Then also some coaching tips. Steve Magnus says, we think we are missing out on a lot by sleeping, but in fact we are missing out on a whole lot by not sleeping. Sleep is one of the most productive things we can do, and it's definitely where people are cutting corners. Jonathan Marcus says, runners, no one can beat you in the workout. Someone might run a little faster or longer in training, but the opportunity to win-lose only happens on race day. Training runs are not competition. They're a time to advance your ability by challenging yourself. And I used to have, when I coached at high school especially, we had workout ponies. Guys who would just crush workouts, but then they'd get into meets and they wouldn't run very well. My own son was really good at training, and then he would race hard, but his times on our cross-country team, he'd often be way in the back, but then come cross-country races, he'd be our third, fourth guy. So, workouts are specifically to get you prepared for a race. They're not races themselves. Brad Stoltenberger, who I often retweet, talking about, and there's a HBO special with Michael Phelps and many other Olympic athletes, and it's kind of here. It says, many high performers suffer from depression, anxiety, OCD, and other mental illness. Not to romanticize it. They aren't great because of it, but in spite of it. It's what it is. Part of you, not all of you. You're never alone. Easier to hold the hard stuff when you know that. And I've definitely suffered from those things off and on. But I've really been doing well, as you probably noticed by all the sheer volume I've been doing here on it. One, I think my meds have kicked in and I've kind of stabilized out, been taking blood pressure medicine and some other stuff for my congestive heart failure issue I had, and also jettisoned some things in my life, and definitely putting more focus into this. The podcast, the YouTube channel, and please subscribe on the YouTube channel. I'd like to get it monetized again. And also I've revamped and got my Bakersfield Distance Project back. If you're in Bakersfield or you're coming through Bakersfield, we're gonna be out there at Beach Park Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. Moved to the Beach Park, a little better facility. It's a little closer to my house. Speaking of racing, Donovan Brazier, who's our great 800 runner, won a world championship, broke the American record. He won a 600 the other day, and he's now been undefeated in the 2020. Other track news, which is good news until, who knows, hopefully it will happen. Rich Gonzalez of PrepCalTrack says, alert, the 53rd annual Arcadia Invitational track meet is confirmed for Friday through Saturday, May 7th through the 8th at the newly renovated Arcadia High School facility, which is an amazing facility. Here's hoping that happens, hoping that everything gets settled out. Arcadia meet is an amazing meet. 53 years, I guess it was going on when I was in high school, but I never really heard about it. But it's a premier meet. It's just world-class athletes have run there when they were in high school. Kids come from around the country. And when I first started coaching at Bakersfield High in 2006, I was coaching cross country, but as soon as track season, preseason started, all you heard was the kids, Arcadia, Arcadia, Arcadia. And then I found out why. It's the cream of the crop, an amazing fast race. Every year they'll have a 3,200 race, and they'll have a dozen kids, boys break 9 minutes. Lots of other great performances and all the other events. So it's definitely good. A little bit of local news, but I'm sure it happens in your area. We have this beautiful bike path that I was talking about, and I talked to Zach Griffith yesterday on my podcast about bike path, current usage and safety and all kinds of things like that. Well, we have a lot of, I call it urban outdoorsmen. A lot of people living along the river, and they're encampments, but lately they've been actually driving their cars to their campsites, and having cars driving on a 6-foot bike path is extremely dangerous. And finally, the City of Bakersfield Rapid Response Team has installed new posts at the Kern River Parkway at Chester Avenue, and hopefully that'll keep some of these people from driving on the bike path. It's definitely kind of sketchy. Sometimes people just get lost. It's just amazing. They're like, well, look at this really skinny road. And then lastly, kind of one of the things talking about here in California and the craziness, we have this Windwillows Preserve about 20 minutes out of town, and it's a beautiful place to go hiking. Lots of people in Bakersfield go there, but it has been closed now because of the heat and the extremely bad air quality, and so they don't want people to get out there and get into trouble. And that comes to how I always end things with, be safe, stay healthy, be boring, not epic.